Hello friends, it's Steven here once again, and in this tutorial we'll be talking about the ESP-IDF as well as the FreeRTOS tools which you will be using to develop on the Pixlpal firmware or project. We would equally touch on how to go about installing the ESP-IDF on your machine, whether it's Windows or the Mac. As was mentioned, the Pixlpal project makes use of the ESP-IDF for firmware development. And this was done for good reason because the ESP-IDF is the officially supported development framework by Espressif, though there are others which you can use for the ESP32 series of SoCs. You can make use of the Arduino IDE or platform, or you can use a combination of platform IO and the Visual Studio Code. However, we decided to go with the ESP-IDF for several benefits that comes with the use of the official IDE or development framework, which includes having access to the latest features or tools released by Espressif, easily integrating user-contributed components or ESP official components, as well as combining both the official components and the Arduino libraries. There are extensive benefits with using the ESP-IDF. Equally, you can use the IDF to extensively configure the microcontroller you choose. In our case, the ESP32S3. There are multiple configurations. In fact, you have access to all configurations. So that's one of the key benefits of using the ESP-IDF. And as was mentioned, we'll be making use of the FreeRTOS tools. And the benefit of doing that, I would like to mention that FreeRTOS comes pre-installed or pre-configured with the ESP-IDF upon installation. The benefit of using the FreeRTOS, in this case, of course, it's free to use and it's widely supported. There are a lot of tutorials to learn how to use the tool or FreeRTOS APIs, as well as if the need arises to debug. Now, the key benefit of FreeRTOS is it gives you the APIs give you the ability to run multiple processes concurrently, which we refer to as tasks. As we go about the Pixlpal firmware in details, you'll see the use of the FreeRTOS. Now I would go ahead and show how we can install the ESP-IDF on our machine. If you notice, I'm using a Mac, though the process is the same for Windows. And I'm not very familiar with Linux, but I believe the process will be the same. I would like to mention there's a tutorial that extensively gives details on installing on all three types of machines or operating systems. So first, I will just quickly introduce the a tutorial, of course, developed by, put up by other developers, not particularly for the Pixlpal, but just simply showing how to install the ESP-IDF on your machine. If you can see, I'm on the official Pixlpal GitHub repo, and within the README file, you would see the about 3 tutorials mentioned. I would recommend the first, which is a write-up that gives detailed steps on installing the ESP-IDF on your machine, whether it's Windows, Mac, or Linux. The second tutorial is the write-up by Espressif themselves, though that is quite detailed. For a quick installation, you use the write-up, the very first option here. If you have a Windows machine, there is a tutorial video that easily walks you through installing the ESP-IDF on your Windows machine. We would return back to this. I would try to demonstrate how to get started installing the ESP-IDF. Though it's already installed on my machine, but the process is quite straightforward. I have launched Visual Studio Code. First key, of course, you need to install the Visual Studio Code released by Microsoft. I have that already installed. And you would see that in the tutorial, especially the first one I mentioned, how to go about installing Visual Studio Code. Now, with your Visual Studio Code, come to application. At the moment, I have ESP-IDF already installed. You can search that. That was installing the extension. You can search from the search bar over here. I have it already installed. If I click, you would notice the interface. I would quickly walk you through. At the moment, the latest version is 2.1. However, based on experience and based on the tutorials shown in those links in the GitHub repo, I would recommend you make use of version 1.11.1, which I have tried with success. The last time I tried version 2, the version 2, which was newly released, I encountered some challenges. So I want to believe those bugs are being worked on by Expressive. So for a seamless installation, especially if you are using those tutorials, you would have the version 1.11 installed. To go about that, you simply, if you don't have the ESP already installed, you click on this icon. In my own case, I have the ESP-IDF already installed. If I want to select a particular version, I have to click this drop down, which then shows me install specific version. Let me uninstall this so that it will be similar in your own case. The uninstallation process is ongoing. Okay, it has uninstalled. In your case, you click the setting icon here and select install specific version. You can then go ahead and select version 1.11.1, which I already had installed. I would go ahead and install that once again. It's a quick process, and you have the version here. Once you have that, you can click the settings icon to go ahead and install the ESP-IDF proper. You navigate to, if you don't have the ESP-IDF icon appear, okay, I have it here already, but you can use this icon, or you use the settings over here, ESP-IDF open get started walkthrough. As soon as you click that, yeah, this would flash, giving you the interface to install the ESP-IDF. In my case, you start with configure the extension. As I mentioned, I already have ESP-IDF installed in my system. However, in your case, you can go ahead. You go ahead with the Express installation. I would click that. Though, as I mentioned, I won't reinstall it because it takes a while to download all the tools. So, mind you, at the moment, we are using the Expressive version 5.5. I have the 5.5.3 installed. Though, if you are installing in your case, get at least 5.5.3 or 0.4 or higher. I think currently the 5.5 latest version is 5.5.4. That is what you should select, and you can go ahead and install. This particular screen I have here, you would see in the tutorials which I mentioned, or which are in the GitHub repo. I'll go back to that once again. From there, you can see how to go about configuring, selecting the folders where you want your tools or the ESP-IDF tools installed. Just as a reminder, once again, you can come back to the GitHub repo to see the step-by-step method to get the ESP-IDF installed on your system. I'll click the first link. The first link is quite detailed, and one of the tools you would need, though this can be installed automatically when you start the ESP-IDF installation. You need Python installed on your system if you don't have that already. The tutorial equally mentions why you would want to use the ESP-IDF against the Arduino IDE, the benefits that comes with that. So whichever the machine you are using, there are tutorials for each, both Windows, Mac, and Linux. As I mentioned, this is a write-up. It's quite detailed. However, for Windows users, you can just go ahead and follow this YouTube tutorial, which is about 6 minutes to get you started on the successfully installing the ESP-IDF. Let me skip this. Okay, it appears my internet isn't as good. However, in your case, you should be able to access the tutorial video and get your ESP-IDF installed. That will be it for this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we'll be talking about the layout of the ESP-IDF as well as the layout of the Pixlpal firmware. See you guys in the next one. Bye.